The sound of crystal glasses clinking together echoed through the Carter Mansion's dining room, a hollow celebration masquerading as family warmth. I lingered in the hallway, adjusting my dress, a peace offering to Barbara, who'd once commented that my usual attire wasn't quite suitable for family gatherings. My name is Elizabeth, and I was about to learn exactly where I stood in my husband's family. "She's ruining everything we've built," Barbara's voice sliced through the wall. "Matthew deserves so much better than that social climbing nobody." I froze, my hand still on the doorknob. The dinner was supposed to celebrate Matthew's promotion, but clearly his mother and sister had other plans. "Rachel called yesterday," Jessica chimed in, her voice dripping with calculated sweetness. "She's moving back to town next month. Remember how perfect they were together in college? Before this, Elizabeth showed up and sank her claws into him." Barbara's words hit like precise knife strikes. "Rachel comes from the right background. She understands our family traditions." I pressed my back against the wall, my chest tightening. 2 years of marriage, and I'd tried everything to fit into their world. Charity galas, country club memberships, even taking etiquette classes, all while they plotted behind my back. "I've already invited Rachel to the Christmas gala," Barbara continued. "Matthew always gets nostalgic during the holidays, once he sees her again." "And Elizabeth?" Jessica asked. "Oh, I'm sure she'll make some excuse not to attend. She never quite manages to understand our social obligations, does she?" Their laughter twisted in my gut like barbed wire. I'd spent countless nights wondering why Barbara's smiles never reached her eyes, why Jessica's compliments left me feeling smaller. Now I knew. I'd been fighting a war I didn't even know I was in. The front door opened, and Matthew's voice carried down the hall. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible." I straightened up, smoothed my dress, and painted on a smile that felt like warfare. Matthew rounded the corner, his face lighting up when he saw me. "There's my girl," he said, kissing my cheek. "Ready to celebrate?" I nodded, watching Barbara and Jessica emerge from the dining room, their faces transformed into perfect masks of familial joy. "Elizabeth, darling." Barbara opened her arms for an embrace that felt like chains. "We were just discussing the Christmas gala. You'll be joining us this year, won't you?" I met her gaze, seeing for the first time the calculated gleam behind her maternal warmth. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, Barbara." "Wonderful!" Jessica clasped her hands together. "We have so many surprises planned." "I bet you do," I thought, taking my seat at the table. David, Matthew's father, shuffled in last, barely looking up from his phone. Another silent observer in this family's elaborate performance. As Barbara raised her glass for a toast, I watched her, really watched her. The way she positioned herself between Matthew and me, how her eyes constantly tracked his reactions, the subtle ways she steered every conversation back to his childhood, back to when she was the only woman in his life. "To Matthew," she proclaimed, "and to family." I lifted my glass, my mind already racing ahead to the Christmas gala. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they'd forgotten something crucial. I hadn't survived growing up in foster homes and clawed my way through law school by being naive. "To family," I echoed, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. Let them think they had the upper hand. Let them believe I was the simple, social climbing nobody they'd dismissed. They had no idea what I was capable of when pushed too far. 3 days after the dinner, I sat across from Matthew in our kitchen, watching him scroll through his phone while I gathered my courage. The morning light caught his wedding ring, a simple band that Barbara had called quaint when he'd chosen it over the family heirloom. "Your mother called again about the Christmas gala," I said, keeping my voice steady. "She mentioned Rachel might be there." Matthew barely glanced up. "Rachel? From college?" He shrugged. "Haven't thought about her in years." "Really?" "Because your mother seems to think about her quite often." That got his attention. He set his phone down, frowning. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I overheard something at dinner." I traced the rim of my coffee cup. "Your mother and Jessica were discussing how perfect you and Rachel were together." "Come on, Liz. Not this again." He rubbed his temples. "You're reading too much into things. Mom's just traditional. Traditional enough to arrange accidental meetings with your ex? That's ridiculous. Matthew stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. Mom wants what's best for me, for us. Does she? The words came out sharper than intended. Because from where I'm standing, she wants what's best for the Carter family name, and I don't quite make the cut. His phone buzzed. Barbara's special ringtone. Matthew answered immediately, turning away from me. Hi, Mom. No, you're not interrupting anything. I watched him pace, nodding and smiling at whatever Barbara was saying. When had this become our normal? Him jumping at every call, me swallowing my words to keep the peace. The country club, tonight? Matthew glanced at me. Sure, we'll be there. 7 o'clock? I stood up, my coffee forgotten. Actually, I have plans with Lucas tonight. Matthew covered the phone. Mom's arranged a special dinner. The whole family will be there. The whole family, I repeated. And Rachel? His expression hardened. Stop it. Just stop making everything about you versus them. I grabbed my keys and bag, needing to escape before I said something unforgivable. Have fun at dinner. Tell your mother I send my regrets. Lucas was waiting at our usual cafe, his lawyer's instincts picking up on my mood immediately. Spill it, Liz. What happened? I told him everything. The overheard conversation, Matthew's dismissal, the sudden dinner plans. Lucas listened, his expression growing darker. Document everything, he said finally. Every coincidental meeting, every manipulation, build your case. My case? I laughed bitterly. Against what? Being an inconvenient wife? Against whatever Barbara's planning. He leaned forward. Think about it. She's laying groundwork, creating situations where Matthew's ex just happens to be around, making you look paranoid when you object. Classic isolation tactics. My phone lit up with a text from Jessica. Mom's disappointed you're not coming tonight. Rachel was looking forward to meeting you. I showed Lucas the message. He whistled low. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. What am I supposed to do? I asked. Matthew thinks I'm imagining things. You're a lawyer, Liz. Start thinking like one. Lucas's eyes held a familiar gleam, the one he got before destroying opposing counsel. They want to play games? Fine. But make sure you're the one writing the rules. My phone buzzed again. A photo from Jessica. Matthew at the country club, Barbara on one side, Rachel on the other. All three laughing at some shared joke. Barbara's hand possessively on Matthew's arm, Rachel leaning in just slightly too close. Well played, Barbara, I murmured, saving the photo. But you forgot something important about me. What's that? Lucas asked. I learned strategy from the foster care system, not finishing school. I straightened up, a plan forming. Time to show them what real manipulation looks like. Lucas grinned. Now that's the Liz Carter I know. What's the first move? I pulled out my laptop, opening my email. A carefully worded invitation to Barbara. I think it's time I hosted a dinner party of my own. The game was changing. Barbara wanted to test my limits. Fine. But she'd soon learn that some people are dangerous precisely because they have nothing left to lose. The cafe's security footage played on my laptop screen, frame by frame. Barbara and Rachel, heads bent together over coffee, passing what looked like photographs between them. 2 hours later, Matthew's mother emerged, triumphant smile firmly in place. Rachel lingered, typing furiously on her phone. I'd followed Barbara for 3 days, documenting every chance meeting, every orchestrated run-in. The barista had been surprisingly helpful when I explained I was gathering evidence for a potential harassment case. My phone buzzed. Matthew. Where are you? Mom's worried you missed yoga class again. Of course she was. The country club's yoga sessions had become another battlefield, with Rachel conveniently joining the same class last week. Working late, I replied, though it was barely noon. Big case. The cafe door chimed. I looked up to see David Carter shuffle in, his usual defeated posture more pronounced. He ordered coffee, then froze when he spotted me. Elizabeth. He hesitated, then approached my table. I didn't expect to see you here. I turned my laptop screen away. Just catching up on work. Would you like to join me? He sat, hands fidgeting with his coffee cup. Barbara mentioned you've been distant lately. Did she mention why? David's eyes flickered to my laptop. I saw them, you know. Barbara and that girl, Rachel, outside the country club last week. My heart raced. And? 35 years of marriage, he said quietly. I've watched Barbara destroy every relationship she disapproves of. Matthew's college girlfriend before Rachel. Jessica's fiancé who didn't have the right connections. He met my eyes. Now you. Why are you telling me this? Because you're different. You fight back. He pulled out his phone, fingers trembling slightly. Barbara doesn't know I kept these. He showed me a series of emails. Barbara coordinating with Rachel, planning accidental meetings, discussing Matthew's schedule. Dates, times, locations, all meticulously arranged. Why didn't you stop her? I asked, forwarding the emails to myself. The same reason Matthew can't see what's happening. Barbara has a way of making her reality the only reality. He stood up, straightening his jacket. I should go. She'll be wondering where I am. David, I called after him. Thank you. He paused at the door. Just, whatever you're planning, remember that Matthew loves you, even if he doesn't know how to show it anymore. That evening, I found Matthew in his home office, surrounded by family photos. Barbara's careful curation of his life, displayed in silver frames. We need to talk, I said. Can it wait? Mom needs help planning the Christmas gala and… No. I placed my phone on his desk, David's emails displayed on the screen. It can't. He read slowly, his face draining of color. This has to be a mistake. Your father gave them to me. There's more. I showed him the cafe footage, the photographs, the carefully documented meetings. Stop. He pushed away from the desk. Just stop. Why are you doing this? Why am I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign. Your mother is actively trying to destroy our marriage, and you're asking why I'm doing this. She wouldn't. She is. And you know it. You've always known it. I moved closer, forcing him to look at me. The question is, what are you going to do about it? His phone rang, Barbara's ringtone. Matthew stared at it, then at me, trapped between two versions of reality. I need time, he whispered. Time for what? For your mother to arrange more coincidental meetings? For Rachel to accidentally show up at every family event? The phone kept ringing. Matthew's hand twitched toward it. Go ahead, I said, stepping back. Answer it. But understand something. I won't be here when you're done making excuses for her. I walked out of his office, his voice calling after me, mixing with Barbara's ringtone. In our bedroom, I opened the closet and pulled out the suitcase I'd packed that morning. Sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about forcing them to face the truth they've been desperately avoiding. I left Matthew standing in the doorway, his phone still ringing, as I walked to my car. Let Barbara orchestrate her perfect family tableau. I had evidence, allies, and most importantly, nothing left to lose. The game was changing, and this time, I was writing the rules. Lucas's guest room felt like exile, but it was better than a hotel. 3 days since I'd walked out, and Matthew's calls had dwindled from hourly to daily. Progress of sorts. I spread the evidence across the bed. David's emails, surveillance photos, text messages, a paper trail of Barbara's orchestrated destruction of my marriage. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Elizabeth, can we meet? The tremor in her voice caught me off guard. Jessica, Barbara's perfect echo, actually sounding human. Why? Please, just not anywhere near the house. Mom can't know. We met at a diner across town, the kind of place Barbara would never set foot in. Jessica sat in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a coffee cup, looking smaller without her mother's shadow. Rachel's pregnant, she said without preamble. The words hit like a physical blow. What? 3 months. Jessica's knuckles went white around her cup. Mom knows. She's been helping Rachel hide it from Matthew until the right moment. The pieces clicked together. The urgent dinner parties, The rushed timeline. The Christmas Gala, Jessica nodded. Mom plans to announce it there. Make it impossible for Matthew to walk away. And you're telling me this because? Because I found these. She slid an envelope across the table. Inside were medical records. Rachel's fertility treatments from 6 months ago. Treatments paid for by Barbara Carter. My laugh sounded hollow, even to my own ears. Your mother actually orchestrated a pregnancy to trap Matthew. You don't understand. This is what she does. Jessica's voice cracked. She did it to me, too. I waited, watching tears form in her eyes. 5 years ago, I was engaged to James. Mom didn't approve. He was new money. Jessica wiped her eyes. She arranged for his company to fail, then had her friends spread rumors about embezzlement. By the time she was done, his reputation was destroyed. And you never told Matthew? Would he have believed me? She met my gaze. Would you have believed me 3 months ago? Fair point. Why now? Why help me? Because I saw the photos you took of Mom and Rachel. You're building a case, aren't you? Jessica leaned forward. I want in. Just like that? Betray your mother? You think I don't know what she is? Jessica's voice hardened. I've spent my entire life being molded into her image. The perfect daughter, the loyal soldier. And for what? So she can do to Matthew what she did to me? I studied her face, looking for signs of deception. If this is another trap. It's not. She pulled out her phone, showing me a video of Barbara and Rachel in what looked like a doctor's office. I've been gathering evidence too, ever since James. My mind raced with possibilities. With Jessica's help, we could expose Barbara completely. But something didn't add up. Matthew's been calling me, I said, asking me to come home. Jessica's expression shifted. Don't, not yet. Mom's convinced him you're having a breakdown. She's got him talking to lawyers about temporary guardianship. The room tilted slightly. She's trying to have me declared incompetent? Why do you think she's been pushing the paranoia narrative? All those times Matthew dismissed your concerns as imagination? Jessica reached across the table, gripping my hand. She's building a case of her own. I pulled away, standing abruptly. I need time to think. We don't have time. Jessica's voice was urgent. The gala's in 2 weeks. Once Rachel makes that announcement, I'll contact you tomorrow. I grabbed my coat. Don't tell anyone about this meeting. Outside, the cold air helped clear my head. Barbara wasn't just trying to end my marriage. She was trying to destroy my entire life. And Matthew. Matthew was helping her. My phone buzzed with his nightly call. This time, I answered. Liz, please come home. We can work this out. I thought of the medical records, the video, the legal papers probably sitting on his desk. You're right, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'll come home tomorrow. We should talk. Let them think they'd won. Let Barbara believe her plan was working. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The Carter family brunch stretched before me like a minefield. 1 week since my return home, playing the role of repentant wife while gathering intelligence. Barbara sat at the head of the table, presiding over her domain like a queen, while Matthew hovered nearby, watching me with worried eyes. Elizabeth, dear. Barbara's voice cut through the clinking of silverware. Matthew tells me you've been seeing a therapist. How wonderful. I caught Jessica's slight flinch across the table. Another piece of evidence for Barbara's legal strategy. Actually, I smiled, cutting into my untouched eggs. I've been consulting with some colleagues about expanding my practice. Criminal law can be so fascinating. Barbara's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Criminal law? But you handle corporate contracts. People can change, Mother Carter. Evolve. I met her gaze. Sometimes in unexpected ways. Matthew cleared his throat. Liz, maybe we should... Oh, that reminds me, Barbara interrupted, reaching for her phone. Rachel sent the most interesting article about career transitions. She's done so well since moving back. The table fell silent. Even David looked up from his newspaper. Speaking of Rachel, I said, my voice steady, How are those fertility treatments working out? The crystal water glass in Barbara's hand crashed to the floor. Matthew jumped up, napkin in hand, but I wasn't finished. It must be expensive, all those specialist appointments. Good thing she has support. Barbara's face went chalk white. Jessica stared at her plate, knuckles white around her fork. I don't know what you're implying, Barbara started, but I cut her off. No implications, Mother Carter, just facts, like the fact that your lawyer called my office yesterday about those guardianship papers. Matthew froze in his cleanup efforts. What guardianship papers? You didn't tell him? I turned to Barbara. About your concerns for my mental health? The legal documents you've been preparing? Mom? Matthew straightened, looking between us. What's she talking about? Barbara recovered quickly, reaching for Matthew's arm. Darling, we were just trying to protect you. Elizabeth's behavior lately, the paranoid accusations. Show him, I demanded. Show him the papers in your study, the ones detailing my supposed mental breakdown. This is exactly what we're talking about, Barbara said, voice trembling perfectly. These delusional. I have copies, Jessica suddenly spoke up. The room went still. Of everything. Barbara's head snapped toward her daughter. Jessica? The fertility clinic receipts, Jessica continued, her voice growing stronger. The emails about Elizabeth's condition, the meetings with Rachel, all of it. Matthew sank into his chair. Dad? Did you know about this? David folded his newspaper carefully. It's time, Barbara. Time for what? Matthew demanded. Time to decide, I said, standing. Between the truth and the pretty lies your mother's been feeding you. Barbara rose, magnificent in her fury. How dare you turn my family against me? You did that yourself, Jessica interrupted. Just like you did with James, with everyone who didn't fit your perfect plan. I walked to Matthew, placing a hand on his shoulder. Check your mother's study, read the papers, then decide who's really been manipulating whom. Elizabeth, Barbara's voice turned silky. Think very carefully about what you're doing. Oh, I have. I smiled, feeling strangely calm. I've thought about nothing else since I heard you planning to destroy my marriage. The question is, have you thought about what happens when all of this becomes public? You wouldn't dare. The Carter family name means nothing to me, I said, but it means everything to you, doesn't it? Matthew stood abruptly. I need to see those papers. Matthew, wait! Barbara called, but he was already heading toward the study. I gathered my purse, pausing at the doorway. The Christmas Gala is in 3 days, plenty of time for everyone to decide where they stand. As I walked out, I heard Jessica following. Behind us, Barbara's voice rose in desperate explanation, but the damage was done. The carefully constructed walls of her empire were beginning to crumble. Now we would see what remained when the dust settled. The Christmas Gala invitation sat on my desk like a loaded gun. 2 hours until the event, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking as I reviewed the evidence one last time. Photos, emails, medical records, a perfect paper trail of Barbara's manipulation. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Mom's having Rachel seated at the main table, next to Matthew. Of course she was. I checked my reflection in the mirror, smoothing down the red dress I'd chosen specifically for tonight. Barbara had always said red was too bold for family functions. Lucas appeared in the doorway of his guest room. You don't have to do this. Actually, I do. I slipped the USB drive into my clutch. Barbara's already filed the guardianship papers. If I don't move now... Ah, then what? You lose, Matthew? He stepped closer. Look at yourself, Liz. When did this become about winning instead of healing? Before I could answer, another text came through. Matthew this time. Can we talk before the gala, please? He's probably seen the papers by now, I said, more to myself than Lucas. Maybe he's finally... Or maybe Barbara's already twisted everything around. Lucas took my shoulders. You're walking into a trap. I'm counting on it. I met Matthew at our favorite coffee shop, the one where he'd proposed 3 years ago. He looked exhausted, his tie slightly crooked, a detail Barbara would never have allowed. I read the papers, he said without preamble. All of them. And? And I don't know what to believe anymore. He pushed a folder across the table. Mom says you doctored the evidence, that this is all part of your condition. My laugh came out harsh. Of course she does. And you believe her? I don't know what to believe. His voice cracked. The woman I married wouldn't do this, wouldn't try to destroy my family. Your family is destroying us, I shot back. Or haven't you noticed? Rachel's pregnant. The words hung between us like poison. I gripped my coffee cup tighter. I know. Mom says, I don't care what your mother says. I stood up. Come to the gala tonight. Watch what happens when Barbara makes her grand announcement. Then decide who's really been lying to you. His hand caught my wrist. Liz, wait. Whatever you're planning. You had your chance to choose sides. I pulled away. You chose wrong. The Carter mansion was already crowded when I arrived. Barbara held court near the Christmas tree, Rachel at her side like a perfectly groomed puppet. Jessica hovered nearby, her face pale. Elizabeth. Barbara's smile could have frozen hell. We weren't sure you'd come. And miss the big announcement? Never. I matched her smile. Though I brought a little announcement of my own. Barbara's eyes flickered to my clutch. Matthew told me about your evidence. Such a shame, these delusions. Mom, Jessica stepped forward. Don't. Stay out of this, Jessica. Barbara's voice could have cut glass. Your sister-in-law clearly needs help. Professional help. I saw Matthew entering the room, watched his face as he took in the tableau before him. Barbara gestured him over, positioning him between herself and Rachel. Actually, I said, loud enough to draw attention, I think it's time we all got some help. Professional help. I pulled out my phone, dialing a number I'd memorized. Agent Phillips, I'm ready to make that statement about the Carter Foundation's financial irregularities. The room went silent. Barbara's face drained of color. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. The FBI is very interested in where those fertility treatment payments really came from, I continued. And the trust fund manipulations, the tax evasion. Matthew stepped forward. Liz, stop! No. I held up the USB drive. Everything's here. Every transaction, every cover-up. Your mother didn't just try to destroy my marriage. She's been destroying lives for years. And she used your family's foundation to do it. Barbara lunged for the drive, but Jessica moved faster, snatching it from my hand. Jessica, Barbara pleaded, give that to me. Jessica looked at the drive, then at me, and dropped it into her champagne glass. I'm sorry, she whispered. I can't let you do this. As I watched my evidence dissolve in expensive champagne, I realized Lucas had been right. This wasn't about winning anymore. It was about surviving what came next. Barbara's triumphant smile lasted exactly 3 seconds before David cleared his throat. I have copies, he said quietly, of everything. The champagne glass in Jessica's hand trembled. Barbara's head snapped toward her husband. What? 20 years of financial records. David pulled out his own USB drive. Every transaction, every cover-up. I've been documenting it all, Barbara. Since the day you destroyed Jessica's engagement. The room hummed with whispered conversations. Rachel edged away from Barbara, one hand protectively over her stomach. David! Barbara's voice turned honey-sweet. Whatever you think you have? The truth, I cut in. He has the truth. Just like I do. I turned to Matthew. Your father's been gathering evidence longer than any of us. Ask him why. Matthew looked between his parents, the perfect family portrait finally cracking. Dad? She killed my brother, David said. The words fell like stones in the silent room. Tommy's company wasn't failing. Barbara engineered its collapse because he threatened to expose her schemes. The stress gave him a heart attack. Barbara laughed, but it sounded hollow. You're all insane. Matthew, surely you don't believe. The pregnancy's fake, Jessica suddenly blurted. I saw the medical reports, the real ones. Rachel's not pregnant. Mom paid her to lie. Rachel backed away further, bumping into a Christmas tree. Ornaments tinkled ominously. Jessica, Barbara hissed, remember who you are. I remember who I was, Jessica straightened. Before you turned me into your puppet. Before you made me help destroy Elizabeth's marriage, like you destroyed mine. Matthew stepped forward, his face ashen. Rachel, is this true? Rachel looked at Barbara, then at the crowd of watching guests. I'm sorry, she whispered. She said it was the only way to help you, that Elizabeth was destroying your family. No, Barbara's voice rose. I was protecting our family. Everything I did was for this family. You mean for yourself, I said. The money laundering through the foundation, the blackmail, the destroyed lives. That wasn't for family, that was for power. You know nothing about family, Barbara spat. You're just a foster system reject who… That's enough. Matthew's voice cut through the room like a blade. I've heard enough. Barbara reached for him. Darling, don't. He stepped back. All this time, I thought Elizabeth was paranoid, that she was imagining things, but she was right, about everything. I did it for you, Barbara pleaded. Everything was for you. No, Matthew's voice cracked. Everything was for your perfect image, your perfect family, your perfect control. David handed the USB drive to Matthew. The FBI already has copies. I sent them this morning. Barbara's face went from white to gray. You wouldn't dare. It's done, David said. Agent Phillips has everything. They're probably on their way now. As if on cue, sirens wailed in the distance. Barbara's composure finally shattered. You'll all regret this, she snarled, grabbing her purse. Matthew, come with me. We can fix this. Matthew looked at me, then at his mother. In his eyes, I saw years of manipulation finally coming into focus. No, Mom, we can't. Barbara's heel caught on the carpet as she backed away. Jessica? But Jessica moved to stand beside her father, shoulders straight for the first time I could remember. The sirens grew closer. Barbara turned to run, but Lucas, who'd been quietly calling the police, blocked the doorway. It's over, Barbara, I said softly. The perfect family fantasy ends tonight. She looked around wildly, seeing her carefully constructed world crumbling. In that moment, she reminded me of a child's doll. Beautiful on the outside, hollow within. As the FBI agents entered the room, Matthew took my hand. I'm sorry, he whispered, for not believing you, for not seeing. I watched Barbara being led away, her designer dress catching on Christmas decorations. Sometimes the hardest truth to see is the one right in front of us. Can we fix this? He asked. Us. I thought about the months of gaslighting, the dismissed concerns, the chosen blindness. I don't know, I answered honestly. But at least now we're both seeing clearly. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the Carter mansion in clean white. Sometimes, I realized, revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about bringing truth to light, no matter the cost. The Carter mansion's for sale sign swayed in the spring breeze as I packed the last box into my car. Barbara's trial had ended yesterday, guilty on all counts. The perfect family facade had crumbled into headlines about fraud, manipulation, and destroyed lives. You don't have to leave, Matthew said from the doorway. He looked different now, older maybe, or just more real without his mother's influence casting shadows. Actually, I do. I closed the trunk. We both know why. He stepped closer, hands in his pockets like the day we first met. I've changed. I see things clearly now. That's the problem. I turned to face him. You needed your mother in handcuffs to see what was right in front of you. I needed you to see it on your own. Jessica emerged from the house, carrying a small package. Found this in Mom's study. It's addressed to you. Inside was a photo album, my wedding day. But these weren't the official photographs. These were candid shots, moments Barbara had captured while plotting my destruction. In every image, she'd circled what she called my flaws, a crooked smile, an imperfect pose, a moment of uncertainty. She was documenting everything, Jessica said softly. building her case against you from day one. I handed the album back. Keep it. Consider it a reminder. Of what? That perfect families don't exist. Only real ones do. David appeared on the porch, looking years younger despite everything. The foundation board approved your proposal. The money will go to helping victims of financial abuse. Barbara's victims, Matthew added. It feels right, using her money to heal the damage she caused. I nodded, thinking of all the James and Tommies out there, lives derailed by one woman's obsession with control. Jessica, you'll make a good chairperson. You understand better than anyone what needs to be done. She straightened, no longer the shadow of her mother's expectations. I won't let you down. I know. I opened my car door. That's why I recommended you. Matthew stepped forward. Liz, please. We can start over. Build something real this time. I thought about the nights I'd spent gathering evidence, the moments of doubt, the way revenge had consumed me until I almost became what I was fighting against. Some things can't be rebuilt, Matthew. Sometimes starting over means walking away. You're still wearing your ring, he noticed. I looked down at the simple band he'd chosen, despite Barbara's objections. Not anymore. I slipped it off, feeling lighter somehow. Give it to someone who needs a fresh start. The foundation can probably sell it to help another family. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. I'm not. I meant it. Barbara taught me something important. The opposite of a perfect family isn't a broken one. It's an honest one. Lucas pulled up in his car, right on time. He'd been my anchor through all of this, never judging, just supporting. Ready? He called. I took one last look at the mansion, at the family I'd fought so hard to join, and then fought harder to expose. Jessica, standing tall and independent. David, finally free of his wife's shadow. Matthew, learning to see with his own eyes. You know, I said, Barbara was right about one thing. I'm a foster system reject. And that's exactly why I saw through her. Because I learned early that real family isn't about perfect appearances or control. It's about truth. Even when it hurts. I got into my car, started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I watched the Carter family grow smaller. Not perfect, not ruined, just real. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about destroying the lies they built their power on. And sometimes, walking away is the strongest move you can make. I turned onto the main road, leaving the mansion and its shadows behind. Ahead, the sun broke through the clouds, lighting up a path that was all my own.